friends, if you're new to my channel, my name's Nicole and I'm here today to talk about Jesus Christ Superstar live. I know I'm a little bit late with this reaction video because Jesus Christ Superstar did air live on NBC on April 1st, 2018, which was Easter Sunday. A little bit of a bold move, but I just finally have come home to where my mom had DVR'd it for me, so I just got the chance to watch it, and I hadn't planned on making a video about it, but I fell so in love with it that I couldn't resist. So, spoiler, I guess, of this video, but I absolutely love the show. So, Jesus Christ Superstar was written by Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice back in 1970. It came out for the first time on stage, and it is considered a rock opera, technically, I believe. And it tells the story basically of Jesus Christ and Judas and Mary Magdalene, and Jesus's crucifixion. I don't know that that's the right way to say that. But I actually had never seen or heard any of the show before, which is kind of crazy because I'm a huge fan of Andrew Lloyd Webber, huge fan of musical theater, but I somehow had never really come across it other than having heard I Don't Know How to Love Him a couple of times in cabaret type settings. And I'm now obsessed. I cannot stop listening to the live album. I actually think it's the best live show to date. I was really fond of Hairspray Live. I thought Grease Live was really good, but I think that this one is the best combination of design and show itself and cast. I also was actually talking to my mom about this the other day. I think that it's so much better whenever they do a live show that there's not kind of a definitive film version of. I know that there was a film of Jesus Christ Superstar back a couple of decades ago, but it's not kind of the definitive version of the show in the way that The Sound of Music with Julie Andrews is, or that Grease with Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta is. So I think that it works better whenever the audience isn't inherently comparing it to something else that will, you know, fall flat compared to that Julie Andrews or whatever. So I think it's a really great choice of show, first of all. The thing was filmed live in Brooklyn to a live studio audience. I thought that the way that they actually showed a lot of the audience in the filming was really cool. I also just fell in love with the show completely. If you watch this channel a lot, you'll know I'm a huge Andrew Lloyd Webber fan, so that's probably not that surprising, but I just think it's a really interesting view of the story. I really have been actually doing some research now into, you know, what we know of the events that actually happened based on historical records. I'm really intrigued by this character of Judas, and I just think it's really great. One of the things that I actually really enjoyed in it was the costume design. I thought that the costume for Jesus was really cool. I loved the Mary Magdalene costume. I liked that some of the costuming had almost like a 70s vibe to it, which is when the show originally came out. I thought that the costuming of the ensemble to look kind of rock and roll-esque was really cool. There's one costume I didn't like, and that was the costume for Pontius Pilate, which to me kind of looked like Evil Greatest Showman or Evil Willy Wonka, which felt jarring. I got that they wanted it to look different from the ensemble and different from the apostles and Jesus and all of that, but it just really didn't work for me. But that's the only one that didn't. I thought, okay, I have written down here some names. Paul Tazewell, I believe, was the costume designer, and I thought that he did a really brilliant job. I really liked Judas's costume, and I really liked that it kind of hit home this fact that I think a lot of people lose sight of, which is that Jesus and the apostles were kind of outcasts. They weren't, you know, kind of the majority of society, and I thought that it brought that together really nicely. I was really impressed by the staging of it. I thought that particularly, okay, this is kind of a spoiler, but not really, because I think most people know this happened to Jesus, but the crucifixion at the end I thought was beautifully done. Super impressed with the set as well. I thought that it was really lovely, but I just thought it was really, really well directed. It was directed by, I think, David Laveau, who I believe is a British theater director. I could be wrong on that, though, but I thought he did a splendid job. I really thought it was beautiful. My only big complaint with the entire thing, before I get into talking about specific cast members, was that there were a lot of sound issues with it. Like, I felt whenever I was watching it, having DVR'd the live showing, it was kind of hard to hear people over the music at a lot of times. The only person who I could really tell what she was singing the whole time was Sara Bareilles as Mary Magdalene. She was the only person who was clear to me. A lot of times I couldn't understand Judas, played by Brandon Victor Dixon, which I don't think was his fault. I think it had to do actually with like the balancing that was going on. So I know that they fixed it in the album because I have the album. I've been listening to it nonstop, and I'm hoping that whenever they release it on DVD, they will fix it so that you can hear the actual singers a bit better, because that is my only complaint about the whole show though. So now to talk about the cast, I actually don't think there was a weak link in the cast at all. I thought that the whole cast was brilliant. I thought that the ensemble was brilliant. There were a couple of people from Great Comet in it, and I kept yelling every time I spotted one of them, especially like Keith Saunders. And I think my family was kind of like, stop yelling, yeah, we've seen them. But I honestly thought that it was the strongest live cast that we've seen to date. I thought that it was a really, really beautiful combination of kind of celebrities, although celebrities who are singers, which I think is part of the key to it, is not to cast actors in musical roles, but to cast singers who can act. At least for these live shows, I think that works better. And then a really nice combination, though, of that and of actual Broadway and theater actors, which I thought was brilliant. I think definitely Brandon Victor Dixon showed that sometimes you just need an actual trained musical theater performer in a role, which I think was definitely true of Judas. But I just thought it was all such lovely casting. It was also so great to see some diversity in the cast, to see some Asians and Black people as well. Especially because one of my big gripes with depictions of Jesus is that I'm that person who's always sitting there yelling, Jesus wasn't white. So it was really nice to actually see that portrayed. So I feel like I'm going to start kind of from the bottom of the cast listing up. I was actually really impressed with Jason Tam as Peter. That was kind of one of those roles that can be a throwaway role, but I felt that he did that really lovely. I thought Ben Daniels was great as Pontius Pilate. He really made me reconsider who Pontius Pilate is, after, you know, having learned about him in church and everything. But I thought that that was a really lovely performance. I thought it was so cool to see Alice Cooper as King Herod. The kind of thing that you wouldn't expect to work as well as it actually did, but I think it's the perfect role to kind of stunt cast, or whatever you want to call that, put a celebrity in there. And I thought he really killed it, actually, on more than just his name. Obviously, my favorite, and I don't know if I'm saying this right, is it Caiaphas? Was Norm Lewis. I love Norm Lewis. I just saw him at Jason Robert Brown's concert in London at the Palladium, and I've been a huge fan of him for years, and I thought that he killed that role. His voice is so well suited to it. He looked like some kind of Star Wars person in the costume, which I thought was really cool, so now can we cast Norm Lewis in a Star Wars film? But I just thought he was so great. And then going to the leads, I thought Brandon Victor Dixon was the perfect Judas. I would love to see him play that on Broadway. Bring back Jesus Christ Superstar to Broadway just for Brandon Victor Dixon. He, like, every scene, he kept impressing me more and more and more. And I thought that, you know, his end bits were just absolutely lovely and moving. I cried. I didn't think I was going to cry in the show. Cried at a couple of different parts. I thought Sara Bareilles absolutely killed Mary Magdalene. I've never been a huge fan of hers. Not because I dislike her, but because I'm honestly, like, not that into pop music. I've never really gotten into Waitress, not because I have anything against the music. And I'm a huge advocate for it because it was the first female, or all-female creative team on a musical on Broadway. But it's the plot of Waitress I'm not crazy about. But I was absolutely won over by her in the role of Mary Magdalene. I thought her I Don't Know How to Love Him was stunning. I thought she really pulled off some incredible acting in the role. And I'm so excited for her now to be co-host of the Tony Awards. I think that's going to be so great. And I honestly am like, I think I need to go out and buy a Sara Bareilles album. So if anyone has suggestions, do let me know. And finally, the person I will not shut up about, I'm so impressed with John Legend as Jesus Christ. I'm a huge John Legend fan anyways, not even necessarily of his music, but of him and his wife, Chrissy Teigen. Love Chrissy's cookbook, love all the pictures of her and John, love following John on Twitter. I'm just a huge fan of John Legend, like, as a human being. And I knew he was going to sound good as Jesus, didn't know he had the range he showed off in the role, in his singing, but it was his acting that absolutely tore me to bits. I was crying. I was so impressed. I thought he killed the role. I think it's the best thing I've ever seen, like, a celebrity cast in and actually pull off, other than maybe Josh Groban and Natasha Perry in their Great Comet of 1812. But I just thought that John Legend was stunning. I thought that all of his songs were beautiful, and I really thought, you know, he acted really well in it. I thought he totally pulled off the role of Jesus Christ, which is a really challenging thing, I think, for an actor to do, because obviously, it's a really difficult role to pull off because there's so much that people have ingrained in them about Jesus Christ, but also there have been quite a few depictions of him already, and I think, to me, it was so exciting to see him portrayed by John. I have been listening to the album pretty constantly since I bought it the other day, so I thought I'd give you some of my favorite highlights from it. I really like this Jesus Must Die, both as a song and of this recording. I love Norm Lewis, so of course I do. I think Sara Bareilles' I Don't Know How to Love Him is the best I've ever heard the song sung. I honestly, there's like nothing in it that I don't like. I really love Judas's death. I think is really well done. I think the crucifixion is really well done. I think I'm not joking when I say I like it all. Oh, I really like Everything's Alright, and I really like Heaven on Their Minds, like the opening song after the overture. I think that one's really fun. I listen to that a lot. I know I'm going to be jamming to this for weeks, if not months to come. Might end up being kind of the album of the summer for me. I'm so impressed with it. Basically, I think that Jesus Christ Superstar live has completely given me faith in these live musicals and made me think that they're worth doing. I cannot wait for it to come out on DVD. I'm definitely going to get it. I'm going to watch it again and again and again. I think it's so important that, you know, even someone like me who works in the theater, who loves theater, had never been exposed to one of these. I would say Jesus Christ Superstar is kind of a classic show, or at least a classic of the 70s, and this was my first exposure to it in the only way that I've gotten to see it. And I think that that's so important. If you watch this channel, you might know I'm really passionate about increasing accessibility to theater, and I think that these live musicals are actually a great way to do that. And I think that this one proved that if you combine a cast of, you know, big celebrity names and who are able to pull off their roles, and of Broadway and musical theater actors, that they can be something really special and beautiful. So if you've not seen it, I highly recommend trying to get your hands on it. And if you have seen it and you loved it, I would recommend that you get the album, because I do think it's actually a really good recording, and it did fix all the sound issues that the show itself actually had. So that's a really cool thing about it too. Let me know if you've watched it, or if you haven't, why not? But I'd love to talk to you guys about what you guys thought of it, because not enough people that I know have seen it, and I want to talk about it all the time. Literally was at lunch yesterday with my aunt and my grandma, talking to them about John Legend as Jesus Christ. So highly recommend it. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and to subscribe to my channel if you're not already, for more theater content coming soon to you. And yeah, I hope that you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!